Hi, I'm Christina Harmon, a local real estate agent here in Orange County. Today I have the pleasure of being with Meghan Yang with Meghan Yang Interiors. We are going to get into why it is so crucial to have a designer on board when you are flipping a home, interior designing, expanding, renovating. To have her expertise is priceless. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So why don't we get started to see kind of your process. When you first sit down with a client, what does that look like?
Well, generally, I do furniture and things as well, but mostly I do some sort of renovation is part of what we do. So usually I want to ask them first, what is it about the space, if it's an existing space, that they love, and what about it they hate, so that we can kind of figure out from there where we go, what we need to change, and also ask them to how they use the space, what's not working, so we can figure out the space plan first. After that, we get more into the finishes and things like that. But really, that footprint is where we have to start.
Awesome. And at what point in the process do they usually bring you on board? What's the ideal time that you think is crucial?
For me, the ideal time is before they've done anything. A lot of times people don't realize that they need a designer till they've either already gone through architecture plans or sometimes not even till mid-construction. So in reality, if it's possible, if you hire the designer first, myself, of course, but most designers, they have a team of people that they work with, and they can do a lot of those drawings for you and really get into all the fine details. And then they can bring in architects, engineers, contractors as needed afterwards so that everything's cohesive.
Wonderful. Definitely agree. In terms of any design trends, is there anything recently that you've been inspired by or feel like is kind of a note of Meghan Yang?
We live in Orange County. Mm-hmm. Everyone loves a nice bright white kitchen, which, I love too. We want to kind of focus on the beauty that we have outside, but I am liking that I'm seeing a lot of color coming back into spaces, not just kitchens, but other areas as well. I personally love good lighting and tile, and there's so many options now in all different price points to bring in some texture, a little bit of color, a little bit of pattern without committing to an entire house. And so I like to be able to use that where I can.
That's awesome. Speaking of color, is there a color scheme you prefer over others, or is it kind of depending on the client?
I try to do whatever the client wants and not repeat things regularly.
Okay.
I happen to be a blue fan, so any shades of blue, I kind of use it as a neutral. I am loving brass finishes right now. I'm also liking mixing tones. I think that it's really nice that people are seeing that not everything has to be the same, that it actually gives a little bit more layers to a home if you do mix the finishes along with the materials and the colors.
I think that's wonderful to take note of. As far as projects that you've done in the past, can you kind of walk us through some of your most exciting projects so that the clients can kind of see some of your experience?
Sure. So I've been blessed to get to work on a lot of really fabulous projects lately, and some clients that have really trusted some of my outside the box thinking. This kitchen, for one, is one of those spaces where we have kind of a standard Newport entrance that has a Dutch door, and we wanted an entry, but sometimes you want a little bit of privacy. So we actually put in a two-way mirror. So when you're sitting here in the kitchen, you can see who's at the front, but when they walk by, they see a mirror, or when you come in, you see a nice entry mirror. So really getting a chance to think about things like that, or think about ceilings as a design element, or how you use a space, how you work in a space, not just what the finishes look like, are the things that I try to really take into account.
That's fantastic. Any way you can kind of walk us through how someone should budget for utilizing you to really bring their home from kind of ordinary to a wow moment, which is why I needed you here, because I knew I've seen you take my clients' past homes to that level, and other developers in the area. So is there any in terms of the project, a percentage they should kind of keep in mind?
I think it depends. I really try hard to work within anybody's budget, because depending on how much people like to get involved, the amount they use me might change.
Okay.
So I try to customize that for everybody. But one thing I will say about design is it always takes more hours than most people realize, which is part of the reason people end up needing a designer, is they start searching and see that there's so many options, and how do you really land on one and kind of put it all together. So I don't know as far as budget goes what percentage, but definitely meeting with a designer in the beginning so that you can make sure that they can give you sort of an overall idea before you even start on what their fees and time would be, so that you can decide in advance how much of that you need to set aside of your own budget towards that. A lot of times it ends up saving you money. One, you're not doing as many change orders because you've gotten the designer's eye from the beginning.
Yes.
But also, we have access to so many different materials and things that, you don't have to go straight to a retail shop, that we can help you purchase. We save on timeline because the project management really is where you end up losing a lot of money a lot of the times. Not having things lined up in row, or having to do things again, or not having the subs that are really, in implementing it the way you need. So I think designers in the long run usually can help you kind of get through that whole process quicker without having to redo things. And that in itself can, help you save money or help you budget. We can help you decide. If I know what your budget is, I can give you a realistic view of what you should be budgeting per item. If this is your overall budget, about this much for lighting and about this much for flooring, those types of things. Or you can come to me and say, what do you think it's going to cost to do this? And I can give you a breakdown from the beginning based off experience on what I think. Obviously everything's different, but we do whatever we can to, help the whole process go along smoother.
That's wonderful. I think that's why so many people I know, clients of mine, are so hesitant to take something on board, because they just don't have that expertise and don't really have the time to get that expertise. So I do feel like you are just such a critical and integral part of the process. So if they can get you on board sooner, I think they'll probably save a lot of time and money eventually. So I love that. So Meghan, I think one area that you could really help clients is when they're looking at a property. They can't really see through it. I notice that a lot of times when we're looking through a property, and unless the client is either a designer themselves or has another aesthetic background, it's hard to see how this can transform into your dream home. Is there any way you could come on those projects, when you look into a property, whether it's an investment property or a property that they hope to be their dream home?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people see these finished homes, and it's always great to buy a finished home, but especially where we live, real estate is really expensive, and finished still might not be exactly what you want. So if you know a designer, or you think you want to buy a new house or even sell yours, bringing one in, even if it's just a consultation to tell you what they see, can really be a great investment. I've had a lot of clients do that, and it's a really awesome experience because they might have missed out on buying a home that was distressed in a great neighborhood because they didn't see what it could be.
Yes.
So, that's kind of what our passion is, right? Is finding that, seeing that thing no one else sees, and looking at it from a different perspective. So if you can walk us through something from the beginning, we can really try to give you an idea, and even do some renderings and space planning before, especially if you're thinking about purchasing, a home that you're going to need to renovate as well. But that's definitely a great time to use a designer also.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Meghan.
Thanks for having me.
I think this is just incredible information for you buyers and sellers out there that want to take their home to another level, get to see it with some different eyes, and just bring a partner like Meghan in where you might not have that same expertise. So thank you so much, Meghan, again. And I'll see you in the next vlog.
Bye.